any interest, now it's going to say rotate device even though I have the device rotated. Well, that's okay. We'll just rotate the device then and have it like this. I'm okay with that. Let me do it like that. It's actually nicer that way. So in the interest of having a usable product earlier than early next year, not that I'm really producing anything, but I think I made my point that I don't really care what I look like, and I'm not like taking those other DBT things down. See? Shave my hair. That's my own hairdo. I copied the Skater Boys. They had a lot of hair. It's a lot comfortabler. Did it like 20 years ago. Medical marijuana user. Not a counselor. Former DBT client. Feel as though I was chased out of the group by organized crime network. Possibly for political purposes. Possibly just for other kinds of reasons. Wide variety of them available. So I don't necessarily always think that professional, but it's recommended that you get professional help, definitely do, but when you're getting professional help, just like with a doctor, just like with a lawyer, just like with a house contractor, do the homework, check your professional, check the references, or check your oracle device that you use, your tarot cards or your Bible or whatever. And then as you go along, don't be paranoid, but be alert, keep aware. How do you feel when you're in there? Because frankly, I felt like I had to go against some pretty heavy duty stuff in order to grab this information. So, that said, anybody who ever watches this is watching it at your own risk. Since I'm not a professional, I could easily use trigger words. I would also say that a lot of trigger words were used, so as I go through this material, I'm going to try and work on kind of auditing it, which probably will make it so that I'm not allowed to use it, but technically I do have permission from the people that teach this material. In fact, they made me a special binder to take around that didn't have all my notes in it, so that I could try and convince people to go to DBT classes there, and I am totally into people doing DBT classes in any form that you can. Just be alert. So what I'm going to do is read through the material, and when you first start, the way that I went through DBT, and I went through it I think 4 times before we actually left in the middle of a group, because my dog that goes with me was put into an unsafe position, I felt. And I'd been requesting help for feeling unsafe there, and I felt like, some of the counselors were kind of making fun of me, so I left it at that. So, on the other hand, I appreciate the good counselors that just kind of came in, assessed me, decided I probably wasn't malicious, and then left me alone. The witch hunting counselors are a menace. They're out there just like lawyers and physicians and other professionals. That's what has to be watched out for. That's why the common person needs to get in there and get some training, because they use an entirely different language, or they use the same language that we use, but every scope of profession has their own meanings that they add on to common everyday words. And so a professional could be speaking a common everyday word, and it could have an entirely different meaning in their scope or profession. How do I know that? Because I did have my massage therapy license. Oh yeah, let me also say I'm wearing pink, and I support President Trump. I know everybody's always interested in like everybody's boobs, and I should say it like bosoms and behinds, or lack thereof. So there's my lack thereof, and it says Trump in 2 directions. So you can read it in the mirror, or I'm not really sure how else you might read it. Anyway, just for further disclosure, and I'm serious about it, I'm not doinking around, but I also voted for Hillary because I was pretty terrified of the rhetoric, frankly, but we've gotten past that. Alright, so when you start DBT, you go into the introduction to DBT. And I'm just going to read the pages as you go along. So the very first thing that you're supposed to do is do an emotion regulation group skills training agreement. So BLEEP Counseling is offering an emotion regulation group that consists of weekly skills training to help with applying new skills to everyday life. 3 sets of skills are taught in 3 separate modules. How to regulate intense emotions, so that's the emotion regulation module, with all the really cool lists. Interact effectively with others, so interpersonal relationship effectiveness, I think that's what that module is called. And tolerate distress, which is just called distress tolerance, in ways that are not harmful to oneself or others. Mindfulness skills, which are taught in between each of those modules for 2 weeks. Mindfulness skills involve effective awareness and learning to control attention. Since mindfulness is the core of all the skill sets, mindfulness skills are taught for 3 weeks before each module of emotion regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, and distress tolerance. Well, there's the names. It takes approximately 6 months to complete all the modules one time through. However, many people find it helpful to take the modules more than once. I felt like, 4 might be an excessive number of times, but I felt like my first 2 times I was harassed so much I was not getting the material well at all. And I'm pretty quick to get material, not to be a snob about it, but when my mind's not being destroyed by stress, I'm pretty good at getting some stuff. Not all stuff. I'm still working on percentages. The facilitators will be sharing in the rotation. Oh yeah, then there's the facilitators for this particular group, which doesn't matter. So this does matter though. So, because all of these basically make it so that we can learn it better. So clients agree to the following: to attend the skills group on a regular basis, because if you don't do stuff on a regular basis, you forget and you can't do it. To call the group leaders ahead of time when you will arrive late or miss group. And I'd say if you're working through this all by yourself somehow, just like make yourself a journal, because journaling would be helpful in other parts of the course anyways, and write yourself a note. On this day, I was intending to do my DBT skills learning and training session, but I didn't for, whatever reason. Just to be accountable. Even if you're not being accountable to another individual, just to create that accountability mentality, I guess. Okay, to be an ongoing individual therapy, that's something that we can do or not do, because it depends on finance and time and all that stuff as well. Definitely on whether you can access it. But it's pretty good to do, because a lot of stuff will come up. It's like stirring a pot of soup. A lot of stuff will come up from the bottom. To be sensitive when discussing past or immediate suicidal ideation, self-harm behaviors, drug use, or other impulsive behaviors with other clients in group or outside of group. So, and that is pretty much a pretty strong trigger, and I want to say this as in support of the idea that you need to check your program. Be sure that the teachers are acting appropriately. Don't be put off just by the fact that they're the teacher and have the accreditation and you are just a patient. If it wasn't for the patients, the teachers wouldn't have a job, for one thing. For another thing, the suicidal ideation is a huge trigger, and what they had me doing, I felt like I was being chased by pretty bad people that pretty much I'm still being chased by, and they still want me to be dead. And they were in those groups, and against the way that classes are actually supposed to be handled. I was being forced to write whether I felt any suicidal ideation each week on the board in front of people that were playing these what could appear to be weekly games. So there I was trying to write down, I'm going to get to the charts at some point, but things that you cover are your urge to commit suicide, commit self-harm, use your 1 and 2 target behaviors, your highest rating each day for physical misery, sadness, fear, shame and guilt, anger, happiness and joy, and love, and the actions that you took. Did you do self-harm? Did you use your skills? Did you do your target behavior? Did you use your skills? Did you do your other target behavior? Did you use your skills? So yeah, up on the board. And then after we got training, after the teachers got training, then it was like, oh, we're not ever supposed to share this part except for with our individual therapist. We're not even supposed to talk about it in class. It's the other part that we're supposed to do, which the other part is the different kinds of skills, and then breaks it down and tells on what days you might have used them. So pretty interesting situation. So I'm saying go ahead, and there was plenty of other stuff where go ahead and question the teachers. Just do it in a respectful and courteous way. Question the material. Don't accuse on a emotion-based level. Do it after you look at the diagram for logic mind and wise mind and emotion mind. All right. So, be thoughtful in the decision to form private relationships with other group members and be willing to discuss this relationship within the group. To not form sexual relationships with other group members. It's just not, I think, from my personal experience of like 3 decades of various intensive forms of therapies, it's just like you can't do a lot of personal development stuff when you're in an intimate relationship with another person, because you're always going to be worrying about how your development is going to affect your relationship. And it's just, I don't know. I can't imagine trying to do group if I was married unless my husband agreed to go in and do both the individual counseling section and the group section with me. And then again, I would say that some therapists are going to like go at your relationship with their own personal judgment. Like this one therapist up north took $10,000 plus of my husband's mom's money. The goal that we told that therapist over and over again was that we wanted to save our marriage, and his whole goal was to get my husband to leave me because he was prejudiced against me. And then after my husband died, I was going through his papers that were at my house, and I came across a letter from that therapist was it addressed to me or addressed to Paul? And then I opened it, I don't know. But the therapist did not even know, after $10,000 of therapy, plus probably another $2,000 or $3,000 worth of like these group retreat things, that circle things at the Amen Center that he did. The freak didn't even know how to spell my name. And he went complete, but I don't have any way to go against that either. But anyway, so yeah, definitely feel free to question your therapist. There's therapists that are really super good people. And there's a lot of really rich therapists, powerful therapists that are really, really bad. And go ahead, sue me. I would love to countersue. Ed. And not that I'm going to go up there and do anything either, obviously, since I've had all these years where I could, and people have even loaned me loaded guns, which I felt so worried about having in my house. I'm pro-gun, I support pro-gun, but I don't support that people having a gun like me. I mean, I'm just too scattery to have a gun. I was too worried all the time, and then I would have to have it locked up so much that it'd be like someone would come to my house and be like, hold on just a minute while I unlock my gun from 15 bazillion padlocks. No, I'm one of those people that just relies on the good people with guns, and that's that. And hello, bad people, we already know each other. Now then, back to sexual relationships, intimate relationships, how to form them. So yeah, I would say that just from my personal experience with therapy, if anybody sees this or does DBT or whatever that's married, please go in as a couple, because it will just like make your relationship so much better. But definitely be careful of your therapist and make sure that their intention is for you to succeed as a couple also. Okay. And now, back to this. I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to have my opinions and share my experience of therapy. I was told by several of the counselors, I swear. The good ones. Or the ones that anyway, but the ones that really want the material out there. Because they thought I did a pretty good job of understanding it. That's the truth. Or I wouldn't even try. Obviously, I wouldn't even comb my hair. But I mean, my hair combed. Teeth. Trump signage. Pink, because I do support women. I just support those of us that want to stay home and be housewives too. And that means whether we're girls, guys, trans. I do think that gay people should form relationships with a lesbian couple and a man couple, because vulnerability and balancing that male-female energy, but not in a cover-up sense, not as like cover couples, but just support. Because frankly, sorry, gay guys are not that respectful to women at all, or our genitals, or the childbearing process, and so I don't necessarily feel like you deserve to have children all by yourself. I just think, and I do think that children do need that man energy. And now that I've said something else completely, probably far out there, let's get back to don't form sexual relationships with other group members. And also, the clients agree to avoid coming to the group under the influence of drugs or alcohol. My medical marijuana is medical marijuana. Everybody knows that I smoke it all the time. And you agree to pay regularly, which, whatever, that's part of being accountable. To silence cell phone or turn on vibrate if expecting a call, and take the call outside of the group room. And to be aware of the mindfulness in progress sign, and to wait to enter the room if it's on the door. Because you begin every group with a 5-minute mindfulness session. And then you sign that and you agree to it basically each time that you rotate through the group. So that is the first of my videos today.